board's clean at 22:47. That's what I'm thinking when dispatch 6 lights up yellow. Not red, just yellow, which means I've got maybe 6 minutes before the Fremont substation transformer hits thermal limits. 6 minutes is plenty. I've been doing this job for 11 years, night shift at the Western Regional ISO, and I can rebalance load distribution in my sleep. Literally did it once during a mandated rest period. Got written up for that. Worth it though, kept the grid stable. I'm already pulling up the Fremont sector map when my phone buzzes. Dad, third call tonight. I let it go to voicemail like the first two because I'm working, and because we haven't had a real conversation since Mom's funeral 16 months ago. He lives in one of those new high-rises in the Mercy Heights district. The Prometheus Towers, 37 floors, all electric, everything like the developers are proud of it. I helped him move in. Didn't stay for dinner. Vega, you seeing this demand spike? That's Rodriguez from the night team, 2 consoles over. She's worked here longer than me. Started when they still let operators manually trip breakers. Weather Service updated the heat advisory to warning. They're saying 43 degrees tomorrow, 41 overnight low. I'm seeing it. The Fremont transformer's climbing, 88%, 89%. I route 40 megawatts from the industrial park to the west side residential grid. The yellow indicator drops to green. That's the 3rd time this week we've hit advisory levels. 4th, Rodriguez says. She's eating those Takis chips again. The purple bag leaves orange dust on her keyboard. Monday night you were off. We had a close call with the downtown feeders. The board shows 17 sectors green, 2 yellow, 0 red. My coffee's cold in the Tervis tumbler my ex-wife got me. Still works fine, keeps things cold for hours, which is the opposite of what I need right now. I should microwave it, but that means leaving the console, and I don't leave the console during weather events. That's a thing I do. Maybe too much according to the union rep, who keeps telling me about work-life balance, like that's something that exists in power dispatch. Call volumes up, Rodriguez says, nodding at her screen. People complaining about AC units tripping breakers. Load diversity's breaking down. I pull up the residential consumption model. Everyone's running their air conditioning at maximum, all at the same time, which means no natural variance in demand. The grid depends on diversity. Some people cooking while others watch TV while others sleep. When everyone does the same thing simultaneously, that's when we get problems. We're going to see more transformer stress as the night goes on. My phone buzzes again. Dad. I decline it. The National Weather Service alert scrolls across the top monitor. Excessive heat warning in effect through Saturday. Dangerous heat index values up to 52 degrees Celsius. Take precautions to avoid heat-related illness. They're not kidding around, Rodriguez says. They never kid around. I'm watching Sector 12, the Mercy Heights district where Dad lives. Demand's climbing there, all those high-rises pulling power for air conditioning, elevators, water pumps pushing water 37 floors up. The Prometheus Towers alone probably draws 8 megawatts during peak. But people don't listen until their AC stops working. The operations manual, 3-ring binder, 600 pages, last revised 2019, sits on the shelf behind me next to the stack of incident reports I'm supposed to file weekly and never do. Page 247 covers heat emergency protocols, monitor demand, coordinate with utilities, prepare load shedding sequences if necessary. Load shedding. That's what we call it when we have to cut power to some areas to prevent total grid collapse. The manual makes it sound clean, technical. It is clean, technically. The system does it automatically now, has since the 2028 Infrastructure Modernization Act. Human operators can't override it. That's the rule. Automated emergency systems have final authority during grid stability events. I helped write parts of that rule. Testified before the Public Utilities Commission about why automation was safer than human judgment during cascading failures. I believed it then. Vega. Rodriguez's voice has changed. Sector 9 spiking. 94%. I'm already on it, pulling load from the commercial district. They're closed anyway, just security lights and server farms. The spike levels off at 96%, holds, starts dropping. Green. Nice. Rodriguez crunches her chips. You want some? I got an extra bag in my locker. I'm good. I'm not good. I'm hungry and tired, and it's going to be a long night, but eating at the console feels wrong during a heat warning. Superstition, maybe. Or maybe I just don't want orange dust on the keyboard when I'm routing 800 megawatts through aging infrastructure. The phone buzzes. Text this time, not a call. Dad, need to talk. Important. I text back, working. Call you tomorrow. His response comes immediately. It's about the building. Something wrong with the AC. Of course it is. The Prometheus Towers, built in 2026, all-electric heating and cooling, supposed to be grid-friendly, with smart load management. What that means in practice is the building's HVAC system talks to the grid, accepts signals to reduce power consumption during peak demand. Voluntary. Except when it's not voluntary, when the grid triggers emergency protocols, and the building's systems obey whether residents want them to or not. I type, call building management. I can't help with individual HVAC issues. Dad, everyone's calling them. Nobody's answering. That's not good. I pull up the Mercy Heights sector detail, zoom into the Prometheus Towers meter data. The building's drawing 6.2 megawatts right now, lower than expected for a heat night. The HVAC load is showing reduced consumption. The building's already responding to grid signals, cutting back cooling to help with demand management. I should tell him this. Should explain that his AC isn't broken, it's just doing what it's programmed to do, saving power so the grid doesn't collapse. Should tell him to open windows, except that won't help when it's 41 degrees outside. I don't tell him any of this. I text, it'll come back on. Grid's managing load. Normal. It is normal. This is what the system does. This is what I helped design it to do. The board's still stable. 17 green, 2 yellow, 0 red. 22:53. The night's just getting started, and the temperature's still climbing. 23:18. The first transformer trips. Not Fremont. That one's holding steady at 92%. This is Sector 14, the Old Harbor District, industrial area with some residential mixed in. The transformer just goes. 1 second it's yellow, next second it's red with a fault indicator. Thermal overload, Sector 14. Rodriguez calls out, like I can't see my own board. Automatic isolation triggered. The system's already handled it, rerouted the load, isolated the failed transformer, kept the rest of the sector running on alternate feeds. This is what the automation does. This is good. This is the grid protecting itself. Except now I've got 40,000 people without power in 41-degree heat. Vega, you want me to call the utility? Rodriguez is already reaching for her phone. They'll know. System sent them the fault report automatically. I'm pulling up the damage assessment module. The transformer's cooked, thermal runaway, probably needs replacement. 6 hours minimum to swap it if they have a spare unit staged. Get me an ETA on repair. The phone rings. Not my cell, the operations line. Rodriguez grabs it. Western Regional ISO, Rodriguez speaking. Pause. Yes, we're aware. Automatic fault isolation. Crews are being dispatched. Another pause. Her face changes. Say that again? She puts it on speaker. It's someone from Pacific Metro Electric, their dispatch center. Male voice, young, sounds stressed. 3 more transformers showing critical thermal stress. Westbrook, Riverside, and Pine Valley. All residential sectors. We're getting equipment failure rates we normally see in January ice storms, except it's summer. What's causing it? Rodriguez asks. Sustained high load. Everyone's running AC at max, nobody's cycling off. We're not getting any load diversity. That's their dispatcher stating what I already know. We need you guys to implement voluntary load reduction in affected sectors. Voluntary. That means asking people nicely to turn off their air conditioning while it's 41 degrees outside. We'll coordinate with the Public Information Office, I tell him. But voluntary compliance during a heat emergency. Yeah, I know. The dispatcher sounds tired. We're already seeing heat-related 911 calls in the Sector 14 outage area. Just do what you can. He disconnects. Rodriguez looks at me. Voluntary reduction's not going to work. No. I'm watching the 3 transformers he mentioned. Westbrook's at 97%, Riverside at 95%, Pine Valley at 93%. All climbing, but it's what the protocol says to try first. My phone buzzes. Dad again. I ignore it. The Public Information Office, 2 people, both of them probably asleep right now, gets an automated alert from our system. They'll wake up, see the heat warning, send out the standard message through the emergency alert system. My phone buzzes with it 5 minutes later, same alert going to every cell phone in the region. Emergency alert, power conservation required. Excessive heat warning in effect. Set thermostats to 26 degrees Celsius or higher. Avoid major appliance use. Conserve energy to prevent grid instability. The message that nobody follows because nobody thinks their AC usage is the problem. Everyone reads it, everyone ignores it, everyone keeps their thermostat at 20 degrees because it's 41 outside and they're paying for the electricity anyway. 2331. Westbrook transformer trips. Another 35,000 people in the dark. 2344. Riverside goes. Rodriguez isn't eating chips anymore. She's watching her screen like I'm watching mine, both of us waiting for Pine Valley to fail. It's at 98% now. The transformer's been running at near capacity for 3 hours straight. Metal heats up, insulation breaks down, failure cascades. We should implement mandatory load shedding, Rodriguez says, before we lose Pine Valley too. We can't. I point at the wall-mounted poster showing the 2028 regulations. Somebody printed it out and laminated it, hung it up like it's inspiring instead of just bureaucratic. Emergency load protocols are fully automated. Human operators are prohibited from initiating load, shedding outside of scheduled maintenance windows. That's insane. We can see what's happening. That's the rule. I helped write it. Testified that human error during the 2024 Texas crisis caused more damage than the weather event itself. Operators made panicked decisions, created cascading failures. Automation is supposed to prevent that. The system will trigger load shedding automatically if grid stability drops below threshold. What's the threshold? Frequency deviation below 59.5 Hz, or voltage drop below 95% in 3 or more sectors simultaneously. Rodriguez does the math in her head. So we need to lose more transformers before the system acts. The system's optimized for grid survival. It'll only shed load when necessary to prevent total collapse. People are dying in Sector 14 right now. No AC, no fans, sealed buildings in 41-degree heat. Cooling centers are 10 miles away for most of those people. In the dark, during a heat emergency, Rodriguez stands up, walks to the coffee maker, pours a cup she doesn't drink. You know what this is? This is the trolley problem, except the trolley's made of electricity, and we're not allowed to touch the switch. The operations line rings again. Different voice this time, female, breathing hard. Fire department dispatch. We need information on Sector 14 restoration timeline. We're extracting heat casualties and she stops. Sound of voices in the background, someone shouting. We just pulled a family out of a 6th-floor apartment. 2 adults, 3 kids. The adults are unconscious, skins bright red, blistered. The kids, Jesus Christ, the kids are seizing. EMTs are saying core temps over 41 degrees. We need power restored to that sector now. Rodriguez looks at me. I pull up the Sector 14 damage assessment. Transformers completely cooked. Replacement unit en route, but installation is minimum 6 hours. I can't. 6 hours? The dispatcher's voice cracks. We've got buildings full of people, and interior temps are hitting 48, 50 degrees. 6 hours, and we're going to be pulling out corpses, not patients. She disconnects. My phone buzzes. Text from Dad. AC completely off now. Building management says it's grid-related. How long? I don't know how long. The Mercy Heights sector is still green for now. But I'm watching the load curve climb, watching the transformer stress indicators edge higher. The Prometheus Towers is reducing its HVAC consumption in response to grid signals, which means Dad's apartment is getting hotter. The building systems are doing exactly what they're designed to do. I text back, systems under stress. Rolling reductions normal during heat events. Should restore in a few hours. That's not a lie. It's also not the truth. The truth is I don't know when it'll restore, or if it'll restore, because the grid's still loading up, and we're still losing transformers, and the night's only half over. The operations line rings again. Same fire dispatcher. Update from Sector 14. We're finding people in stairwells. They tried to evacuate when power went out. Got maybe 10, 15 floors down before the heat got them. Cardiac arrests, heat stroke. One guy, middle-aged, looks healthy otherwise. We found him on the 19th floor landing. His hands are torn up, fingernails ripped off. He was trying to pry open the stairwell door. The door's steel. It was over 50 degrees in that stairwell. He cooked to death trying to get out. Rodriguez closes her eyes. We're finding them in elevators too, the dispatcher continues. Stuck between floors when power cut. The elevator cars are like ovens. We pried one open on the 23rd floor. For people inside, they'd stripped off their clothes, were clawing at the ceiling panels trying to get air. All four dead. The smell. She stops. Sound of someone vomiting in the background. 2356, Pine Valley trips. Rodriguez looks at me. 3 sectors dark. How many more before the automated system triggers? I pull up the grid stability dashboard. Frequency holding at 59.97 Hz. Voltage at 98.2% average across all sectors. We're not at threshold yet. Yet. The operations line rings. Rodriguez answers it, listens, hangs up. Fire department. They're getting calls from people trapped in elevators. Sector 14, buildings with no backup power. Elevators stopped between floors when power cut. Elevators. I didn't think about elevators. The Prometheus Towers has 8 elevators serving 37 floors. When power goes out, elevators are supposed to descend to ground floor on emergency power. Except if the building's backup generator is already running other critical systems, fire suppression, emergency lighting, water pumps, there might not be enough capacity for elevator descent. I pull up the Mercy Heights building registry. The Prometheus Towers has a 500 kilowatt backup generator, rated for life safety systems only. HVAC is not considered life safety. Elevators. Elevators are life safety during evacuation, but not during normal operation. My phone rings. Dad, not texting this time. Calling. I answer it. Dad, I'm working. The building's getting hot. His voice sounds wrong. Strained. They shut off the AC completely. Emergency conservation, they're calling it. They say it's temporary. It is temporary. The grid's under high load. Elliot, I'm on the 32nd floor. It's 41 degrees outside. The windows don't open. They're sealed, double pane. The whole building's climate controlled. Was climate controlled. Now there's no air moving at all. I pull up the thermal model for high-rise buildings during cooling system failure. The numbers come up fast because I've run this simulation before during planning exercises. Without active cooling, interior temperatures in sealed buildings rise approximately 2 degrees Celsius per hour in summer heat. Dad's been without AC for. I checked the logs. The Prometheus Towers HVAC system started reducing output at 2200 hours, went to minimal operation at 2315, shut down completely at 2340. It's 0:02 now. Dad, you need to get to a lower floor. Heat rises. Go down to the lobby. The elevators aren't working. They announced it over the PA system. Emergency power only, elevators offline. They want people to stay in their apartments, not clog the stairwells. No, you need to. I stop. Think. 32 flights of stairs down in 41-degree heat. Dad, 68, had a stent put in 3 years ago, takes medication for blood pressure. Can you make it down the stairs? Maybe, if I take it slow. But they're telling everyone to stay put. Building management is trying to prevent panic, trying to keep people from flooding the stairwells, creating a stampede situation. It's the right call from a crowd management perspective. It's the wrong call from a heat safety perspective. Dad, listen to me. Get out of the building. Now. Take the stairs, take your time, but get to ground level. Find a cooling center. Don't stay in the apartment. Silence on the line. Then, you think it's that bad? I'm looking at the thermal model. 2 hours without cooling in a sealed high-rise. Interior temperature reaches 45 degrees. 4 hours, 50 degrees. 6 hours, lethal. I think you should leave. As a precaution. Okay. He sounds uncertain. Okay, I'll go. I'll call you when I'm out. He hangs up. Rodriguez is watching me. Your father? Prometheus Towers. Mercy Heights sector. She doesn't say anything. She pulls up the Mercy Heights sector on her screen. The load's still climbing. The transformer's at 94% now. 0:07. The grid frequency drops to 59.92 Hz. Still not threshold. Still not low enough to trigger automated load shedding. Vega, Rodriguez says quietly. How many transformers do we have to lose? 0:23. The system enters emergency load protection mode automatically. I don't initiate it. Rodriguez doesn't initiate it. The grid does it itself, responding to frequency deviation reaching 59.7 Hz and voltage drops in 4 sectors simultaneously. The screen flashes amber, then red, then settles on a blue interface I've only seen during training simulations. Emergency load protection active. Automated load shedding sequence initiated. Human override disabled. There it is, Rodriguez says. She's not eating chips. She's just staring at her screen. The system's taking over. The load shedding sequence is prioritized. Essential services maintained, hospitals, emergency services, water treatment, communications infrastructure. Commercial districts reduced to minimal lighting and security systems. Residential areas get evaluated by the algorithm. Population density, vulnerability indices, grid topology, equipment capacity. The system calculates which sectors can be safely isolated to preserve overall grid stability. Safely. That's the word in the manual. Safely for the grid. Sector 8 goes dark. 60,000 people. Commercial district mostly, some residential at the edges. Sector 19 goes dark. 45,000 people. Light industrial, warehouse district, couple of older apartment complexes. Sector 23 goes dark. 70,000 people. Suburban residential, single-family homes mostly. The grid frequency stabilizes at 59.82 Hz. Voltage climbs back to 97.1%. The system is working. The automation is doing exactly what it's designed to do, protecting grid infrastructure by reducing load. My phone's ringing. I answer without checking the caller ID. Vega. Elliot. It's Patricia Klein, Deputy Director of Emergency Services. We need to talk about the rolling blackouts. I know Patricia. Worked with her during the 2027 flood response. Decent person, competent, completely out of her depth right now. They're not rolling. They're load-shedding sequences. Automated grid protection. Can you stop them? No. The system's in emergency mode. Human operators can't override it. People are going to die, Elliot. We're already getting reports from the earlier outage areas. Heat exhaustion, cardiac events. The hospitals, the ones with power, they're getting overwhelmed. I'm looking at my screen. The Mercy Heights sector is still energized. Still green. Dad should be out of the building by now, down 32 flights, out on the street. He should be safe. My phone buzzes. Another emergency alert, this one from the city. Emergency alert, heat emergency. Cooling centers open. If you have lost power, proceed to nearest cooling center. Do not remain in buildings without air conditioning. List of locations. Link. Too late for Sector 14. The alert should have gone out an hour ago, when the first transformer tripped. Now people are already heat sick, already too weak to walk 10 miles to a cooling center in 41-degree heat. The grid had to stabilize, I tell her. If we don't shed load, we risk cascading failure across the entire region. Total blackout. That kills more people than targeted outages. Targeted. Patricia's voice has an edge. That's what you're calling this? We've got 175,000 people without power during a heat emergency. How is that targeted? The algorithm prioritizes based on. I don't care about the algorithm. I care about the elderly woman who just died in her apartment in Sector 14. No AC, no fan, no way to cool down. She was 93 years old, Elliot. That's who your algorithm killed. I don't have an answer for that. The woman in Sector 14, I don't know her name, don't know which apartment, don't know anything about her except that she's dead and the grid is stable. We're opening cooling centers, Patricia continues. But we need transportation, we need notification systems, we need power, Elliot. Can you restore any of these sectors? Not while the system's in emergency mode. It'll automatically restore service when grid conditions improve. When will that be? I look at the demand forecast. Temperatures supposed to peak at 1400 hours tomorrow, stay above 40 degrees until sunset. Not until the heat breaks. Tomorrow night, maybe. Tomorrow night. Patricia's silent for a moment. We'll do what we can. Cooling centers, wellness checks, emergency transport. But Elliot, this system, these rules you've got, they're going to kill people. She hangs up. Rodriguez has been listening. She's not wrong. The grid's stable. That's what matters. I don't believe what I'm saying. I helped design these protocols, helped write the regulations that prioritize grid survival over individual comfort, over individual safety. I testified that automation was better than human judgment because humans panic, humans make mistakes, humans lack the processing capacity to optimize complex systems in real time. The system isn't panicking. The system isn't making mistakes. The system is doing exactly what I designed it to do. My phone buzzes again. Third emergency alert in 20 minutes. Emergency alert. Residents in affected outage areas, remain calm. Stay in your homes. Do not attempt to travel during heat emergency. Power restoration in progress. Cooling centers available for vulnerable populations only. Stay in your homes. That's the official message going to 175,000 people without power. Stay inside sealed buildings where the temperature is climbing 2 degrees per hour. Don't clog the streets, don't overwhelm the cooling centers, don't create a mass evacuation situation that emergency services can't handle. It's the right message from a crowd control perspective. It's a death sentence from a heat safety perspective. The operations line rings again. Rodriguez answers, listens, her face changes. National Guard is being deployed to the outage sectors. Governor declared a state of emergency 30 minutes ago. For a power outage? I pull up the news feeds. There it is, live coverage of military trucks rolling into Sector 14. Soldiers in digital camo setting up checkpoints at major intersections. The cheerin reads, heat emergency, National Guard deployed to maintain order. They're treating it like a natural disaster, Rodriguez says. Setting up perimeter control, preventing people from leaving the affected zones. Preventing them from leaving? People need to get to cooling centers. Emergency management says uncontrolled evacuation during a heat emergency causes more deaths than staying in place. Traffic jams, heat exhaustion on the streets, overwhelmed cooling centers. They're doing controlled evacuations only, buses taking vulnerable populations to designated shelters. I'm watching the news feed. A reporter at a checkpoint in Sector 19, military personnel in the background. We're seeing National Guard troops establishing what they're calling thermal management zones, essentially cordoning off the affected areas to prevent mass exodus that could create additional casualties. Residents are being told to remain in their homes until buses arrive for systematic evacuation. Another feed shows something worse. Personnel in hazmat suits entering a high-rise building in Sector 14. Not chemical hazmat suits. Thermal protective gear. Aluminized suits designed for extreme heat environments. The news caption reads, specialized rescue teams equipped for high-temperature extractions. Jesus, Rodriguez mutters. They're suiting up like it's a contamination zone. It's not contamination. It's just heat. But the hazmat suits send a message. The buildings are dangerous. The air itself is hazardous. You need specialized equipment to survive inside. The visual of people in silver suits carrying out heat casualties makes it look like a chemical disaster instead of a power failure. The military presence makes sense from a logistics perspective. They've got vehicles, communications, organizational capacity. But checkpoints and perimeter control? That's not rescue operations. That's containment. 047, my phone rings. Unknown number. I answer it anyway. Is this Elliot Vega? Male voice, doesn't identify himself. Who's this? Building manager at the Prometheus Towers. Your father listed you as emergency contact. He collapsed in the stairwell. 22nd floor. We've got security personnel with him, but the elevators aren't working, emergency services can't get to him, and he's not responsive. 22nd floor. He made it down 10 floors before. Before what? Heat exhaustion? Cardiac event? The stairwells in high-rises without ventilation, they're just vertical ovens. Hot air rises. Dad was climbing down through rising heat, probably 45 degrees in those stairwells, probably higher. Get him down. Carry him if you have to. Get him to ground level. We're trying. But Mr. Vega, he's not a small man, and the heat, my security staff, they're struggling. The stairwell's over 50 degrees. We can barely breathe in here. I'm pulling up the Mercy Heights sector. Still green. Still energized. The Prometheus Towers has power, reduced power, minimal HVAC, but the elevators should work on emergency power if I can just... Mr. Vega? Are you there? I'm here. Keep trying. Get him down. I hang up. Rodriguez is looking at me. She knows. Your father's in the Prometheus Towers. 22nd floor. Collapsed in the stairwell. Jesus. She's quiet for a moment. Then, can you reroute power? Get their elevators working. I pull up the building's power profile. The Prometheus Towers is drawing 2.1 megawatts right now. Emergency lighting, fire suppression, water pumps, minimal HVAC. The backup generator is running. The elevators are offline to conserve power for critical systems. I could reroute additional power to that building. Could send a signal to bring the elevators online. Get emergency services up to the 22nd floor in minutes instead of however long it takes to carry someone down 22 flights. The system won't let me. Human override disabled. I try anyway. Pull up the manual control interface, enter my credentials, Attempt to modify the power allocation for the Prometheus towers. Access denied. Emergency load protection mode active. Operator intervention prohibited. It's not letting me in, I tell Rodriguez. The system locked me out. Try supervisor override. I call the overnight supervisor, Dennis Walsh, 20 years in grid operations, lives in Colorado, works remotely from a home office with a view of the mountains he won't shut up about. He answers on the third ring, sounds half asleep. Walsh. Dennis, it's Vega. I need supervisor override authorization. Emergency mode is blocking manual power allocation, and I've got a life safety situation. Stop. You're asking me to override automated emergency protocols. One building. The Prometheus Towers in Mercy Heights. They need elevator power for an emergency medical situation. What's the grid status? I look at my board. Frequency at 59.82, voltage at 97.1%, 3 sectors in load shedding. Then the answer's no. The system's doing its job. We don't interfere with automated emergency operations. That's federal regulation, Vega. You know this. You helped write the regulations. My father is in that building. He's collapsed. Emergency services can't reach him without elevator access. Walsh is quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry about your father. I genuinely am. But I can't authorize override. If I do that and the grid destabilizes and we get cascading failures, that's not thousands of people affected, that's millions. You understand that math. I understand the math. The math says one man dying is acceptable if it prevents grid collapse. The math says my father's life is worth less than system stability. The math is correct. Yeah, I tell Walsh. I understand. I hang up. Rodriguez is watching me. What are you going to do? I'm looking at my screen. The Mercy Heights sector is running at 89% capacity. Not stressed. Not critical. I could manually trip a breaker in another sector, create an artificial load imbalance, force the system to redistribute power. It would work. It would also be illegal, a violation of federal regulations, probably cost me my job and my license. It would save my father, except it might not. The system might compensate differently than I predict. Might shed load in Mercy Heights instead of restoring it. Might create cascading failures I can't anticipate. The system is smarter than me. That's why we built it, because human operators kept making mistakes during emergencies. I'm going to follow protocol, I tell Rodriguez. I'm going to let the system do its job. That's not true. That's the lie I'm telling her, telling myself. The truth is I don't know what I'm going to do. The truth is my father is dying in a stairwell in a building that has power, has infrastructure, has everything except someone willing to break the rules to help him. 104. Mercy Heights transformer load climbs to 91%. My phone doesn't ring. 119. I manually trip breaker 7 in the Westbrook industrial sector. It's not a difficult procedure. 3 keystrokes, 1 confirmation dialog that I click through without reading. The system protests. Manual intervention detected. Warning. Emergency mode active. But the breaker trips anyway because there are still some controls they left accessible for equipment failures. Westbrook Industrial goes dark. 12,000 people, mostly warehouses and light manufacturing that's already closed for the night. Minimal impact. The load redistributes exactly like I calculated, flowing through alternate pathways, and the system compensates by shedding load in Sector 12. Mercy Heights. The Prometheus Towers goes dark at 1:21. I'm staring at my screen. The Mercy Heights sector indicator is red. 0 load. 0 power. The building just lost everything. Emergency lighting, water pumps, fire suppression, the backup generator that was keeping critical systems running. Rodriguez sees it too. Vega, what did you? I thought the load would redistribute through the southern feeders. I pull up the power flow diagram. The system did exactly what it's designed to do. Detected an artificial load imbalance, protected grid stability by isolating the least critical residential sector. Mercy Heights isn't near hospitals, isn't a designated emergency shelter area, isn't prioritized for power retention. The algorithm made the right choice. My phone rings. Building manager again. Mr. Vega, we just lost all power. Everything. The emergency lights went out, the generator. I don't know what happened, but we're completely dark. Your father is still on the 22nd floor, and now we can't see anything. We've got flashlights, but I hang up. I'm pulling up the manual override interface again, trying to restore power to Mercy Heights, but the system won't let me. I locked myself out. By creating an artificial fault condition, I triggered additional protection layers. The system thinks the Mercy Heights sector has an equipment problem. It won't re-energize until the fault clears. There is no fault. Just me. Just my mistake. Vega, you need to talk to me. Rodriguez is standing now, away from her console, watching me like I'm a stranger. What just happened? I tried to force a power redistribution. I thought if I created load imbalance in Westbrook, the system would pull from other sectors, would increase power flow to Mercy Heights, would give them enough capacity to run the elevators. I was wrong. The system interpreted it as a fault condition and isolated Mercy Heights for protection. You triggered a load shed in your father's sector. Rodriguez's voice is flat. Not angry, not sympathetic. Just stating fact. I need to restore it. I need to. I'm trying every access code I have, every override sequence, but the system won't respond. Fault condition detected. Sector isolation required. Manual re-energization prohibited. 127, the operations line rings. Rodriguez answers it, listens, looks at me. Emergency services. They're reporting multiple buildings in Mercy Heights going dark. No power, no emergency lighting. They're getting calls from people trapped in elevators. More than just the Prometheus towers. 15 high-rise buildings in that sector, all of them sealed, climate-controlled structures. All of them full of people who were told to stay in their apartments, who were told the power reduction was temporary, who are now sitting in complete darkness in 42-degree heat with no airflow. I did that, not the system. Me. Tell them, I stop. What do I tell them? That I made a mistake? That I tried to save my father and killed everyone in the sector instead? Tell them we're working on restoration. Tell them it's a priority. Rodriguez relays the message. Hangs up. They want an ETA. I don't have one. The system won't let me back in. Walsh calls. I answer it. Vega, what the hell did you do? I'm seeing a manual breaker trip in Westbrook, followed by automatic load shed in Mercy Heights. During emergency mode. During a heat event. Tell me you didn't. I did. Silence on the line. Then, you manually intervened during automated emergency operations. You violated federal grid regulations. Do you understand what you've done? My father is dying in that building. And now everyone else in that sector is at risk too. Jesus, Vega. How many buildings in Mercy Heights? 15? 20? How many people? I pull up the population data. Mercy Heights sector has 73,000 residents. Mostly high-density residential. Towers like the Prometheus, 30 floors, 40 floors, sealed buildings designed for climate control. 73,000, I tell Walsh. You just killed 73,000 people to save one man. I didn't, the system made that choice. I was trying to redistribute load, the algorithm decided to. The algorithm was doing its job until you interfered. This is why we have regulations, Vega. This is why human override is prohibited. Because people like you make panicked decisions that cascade into disaster. Walsh is breathing hard. I'm removing your access credentials. Rodriguez is senior operator now. You're done. Don't touch anything else. The line goes dead. My console screen changes. Access revoked. Credentials suspended. I can see the board, can see the grid status, but I can't control anything. Can't restore power. Can't fix what I broke. Rodriguez is standing next to me. Elliot, you need to step away from the console. I can explain to the system. I can document this as an equipment failure, make it clear the Mercy Heights isolation wasn't warranted. The system doesn't care about your explanations. It's running automated protection sequences. It'll restore power when it determines conditions are safe. That might be hours. She puts her hand on my shoulder. Go. Be with your father. There's nothing you can do here. She's right. There's nothing I can do here except watch numbers change on screens while my father dies. I grab my phone, my keys. The control room door feels heavier than usual. Outside the operations center, the building's hallways are bright and cold, the AC running full blast because the grid management facility is on priority power, essential infrastructure that never loses service. My car's in the lot. Honda Civic, 2026 model, needs an oil change. The drive to Mercy Heights is 23 minutes at this hour, no traffic. The highway lights are on. They're grid connected, but considered essential for safety. Everything around me has power, just not where my father is. 144. The GPS takes me to the Prometheus towers. The building is completely dark. Not even emergency lighting visible in the windows. 37 floors of glass and steel, reflecting the city lights around it, looking almost normal except for the absence of light from within. There are fire trucks outside, ambulances, emergency services personnel in reflective vests. Someone set up portable lights in the lobby entrance, and military vehicles. 3 National Guard trucks parked in a perimeter around the building. Soldiers in digital camo establishing a cordon, directing a small crowd of residents who've made it out. Some are on gurneys receiving medical attention. Most are sitting on the curb, wrapped in emergency blankets despite the 42-degree heat, looking dazed. A checkpoint blocks the main entrance. 2 soldiers and a military police officer checking IDs, controlling who goes in and out. A sign on a folding table reads, "Thermal Management Zone, authorized personnel only." I approach the checkpoint. I need information about a resident. Elliot Vega, 22nd floor. The MP checks a tablet without looking up. "You family?" "His son. He's been extracted. Transported to Mercy General about 40 minutes ago." The MP finally looks at me. "You can't enter the building. Active rescue operations, thermal hazard conditions." "I'm not trying to enter. I just needed to know. Mercy General. That's all I can tell you." He's already waving me away, turning to the next person. I look past the checkpoint into the lobby. Personnel in silver thermal suits moving through the darkness with flashlights, heading toward the stairwells. The hazmat-style gear makes them look like they're entering a reactor breach instead of a building without air conditioning. 2 of them are coming out now, carrying a stretcher. They move quickly toward the ambulances. Another team emerges, supporting someone between them. Elderly man, barely conscious, being handed off to waiting EMTs. A woman next to me, elderly, being supported by a younger man, is arguing with one of the soldiers. "My husband is still up there. 18th floor, apartment 1847. He uses a wheelchair. He can't get down the stairs." "Ma'am, rescue teams are working systematically, floor by floor. They'll reach him." "When?" "It's been 2 hours. The heat in there." "Ma'am, I need you to step back to the designated waiting area." The soldier gestures toward the curb where other residents are sitting. "We'll notify you when we have information." The woman starts crying. The younger man, her son, maybe leads her away. Another thermal team exits the building. One of them pulls off his helmet as soon as he's outside. He's young, face flushed red, dripping sweat. He walks a few steps away from his team, bends over, hands on his knees, breathing hard. I get back in the Honda. Mercy General is 8 miles west. The drive takes 12 minutes. The emergency room is chaos. People on gurneys in hallways, staff rushing between patients, every bed full. I find a nurse, explain who I'm looking for. She checks a computer. Her face doesn't change, which tells me everything. Elliot Vega. He's in critical care, 4th floor. Room 447. Family only. I'm his son. She points toward the elevators. They're working. The hospital has power. 4th floor. Room 447. Dad's on a bed with monitors and tubes and machines that beep. His eyes are closed. A doctor's checking his chart. Young woman looks exhausted, hasn't slept in days. "Family?" she asks. "His son. How is he?" "Severe heat exhaustion, dehydration, cardiac arrhythmia. We've got him stabilized, but the next few hours are critical. His heart took significant stress. At his age, with his medical history." She stops. Looks at me. "Are you aware he has a pre-existing heart condition? He had a stent 3 years ago." The physical stress of descending those stairs in that heat, combined with the cardiac event. "Mr. Vega, your father is very sick. We're doing everything we can." I sit in the chair next to the bed. Dad's hand is on the blanket. I don't touch it. The doctor leaves. A nurse comes in, checks the monitors, adjusts something on the floor. Leaves. The machines keep beeping. Mercy General is 8 miles west. I get back in the Honda. The drive takes 12 minutes. The emergency room is chaos. People on gurneys in hallways, staff rushing between patients, every bed full. I find a nurse, explain who I'm looking for. She checks a computer. Elliot Vega. He's in critical care, 4th floor. Room 447. Family only. I'm his son. She points toward the elevators. They're working. The hospital has power. 4th floor. Room 447. Dad's on a bed with monitors and tubes and machines that beep. His eyes are closed. A doctor's checking his chart. Young woman, looks exhausted, hasn't slept in days. "Family?" she asks. "His son. How is he?" "Severe heat exhaustion, dehydration, cardiac arrhythmia. We've got him stabilized, but the next few hours are critical. His heart took significant stress. At his age, with his medical history, she stops. Looks at me. Are you aware he has a pre-existing heart condition? He had a stent 3 years ago. The physical stress of descending those stairs in that heat, combined with the cardiac event. Mr. Vega, your father is very sick. We're doing everything we can. I sit in the chair next to the bed. Dad's hand is on the blanket. I don't touch it. The doctor leaves. A nurse comes in, checks the monitors, adjusts something on the floor. Leaves. The machines keep beeping. 2:16, my phone buzzes. Text from Rodriguez, Mercy Heights still dark. System won't authorize re-energization until fault condition clears. Walsh estimates 6+ hours. 6 hours. It's 2:16 now. 6 hours means 8:16, full sunrise, temperature climbing toward the afternoon peak of 43 degrees. 6 hours in sealed buildings with no power, no AC, no ventilation. Interior temperatures following the model I know by heart, 2 degrees per hour. 6 hours, that's 12 degrees above ambient. Ambient is 42 degrees at 8 o'clock. Interior temperature, 54 degrees. Lethal. Another text from Rodriguez. Fire/EMS evacuating high-rises. Removing elderly children, medically vulnerable first. Not enough transport for everyone. Some people refusing to leave, don't trust it's that bad. I type back, how many extracted so far? Rodriguez, maybe 8,000. Out of 73,000. Rodriguez, National Guard establishing perimeter checkpoints. They're calling it crowd control, but it looks like they're keeping people in the zones, not helping them out. That's the math. That's the choice I made when I tripped that breaker. Save my father. Maybe possibly if the system had responded the way I predicted, or save 73,000 people by doing nothing. I chose my father. The system chose the grid. Everyone else is still choosing which buildings to evacuate first, which people are most vulnerable, who gets a ride to a cooling center, and who has to walk or stay behind. Emergency services making triage decisions, saving who they can, accepting that they can't save everyone. My phone buzzes. 5th emergency alert, different from the others. Emergency alert, evacuation order. Mercy Heights high-rise residents must evacuate immediately. Proceed to ground level. Use stairwells. Seek cooling centers. This is a mandatory evacuation. The alert that should have been sent at 1:21, when the power first went out. Instead it comes at 2:47, 90 minutes later, after emergency services realized the "remain in your apartment" message was killing people. 90 minutes of 2 degree per hour temperature rise. Interiors at 48 degrees now. Some people already unconscious. Some already dead. The evacuation order is correct. The evacuation order is too late. I could have accepted that. Could have let my father die in that stairwell. Could have followed protocol, trusted the system, allowed one death instead of creating conditions for thousands. I didn't. 3:31. The nurse comes back, checks Dad's monitors. His heart rate is irregular. She frowns, adjusts something, leaves quickly. Returns with the doctor. Mr. Vega, your father's heart rhythm is deteriorating. We're going to try cardioversion, see if we can restore normal rhythm. You should wait outside. I don't move. Mr. Vega. Outside. Now. I stand up. Walk out. Stand in the hallway watching through the window while they work on him. Defibrillator pads on his chest. His body jerking. The monitors showing lines I don't understand. My phone buzzes. Rodriguez. Just got thermal imaging from news helicopter. They flew over Mercy Heights. You need to see this. She sends a photo. Aerial view of the Mercy Heights district at night. The buildings aren't dark in the thermal image. They're glowing. White hot. Every window is a bright square. Every floor is a horizontal line of heat. The buildings look like they're on fire, except there's no smoke, no flames. Just heat. Just buildings full of people becoming ovens. I count the buildings in the image. 16 high-rises visible. How many people per building? 4,000? 5,000? I try to do the math, but the numbers don't matter because whether it's 60,000 or 70,000 or 80,000, it's more people than I can picture. More people than I can imagine. Rodriguez sends another message. Fire department reporting they're finding bodies in the upper floors. Heat stroke, cardiac arrest. Some tried to break windows, safety glass wouldn't break. Found one guy who used a chair to smash through. Fell 32 stories. Better than cooking, maybe. Another message, thermal teams pulling out, saying upper floors are over 55 degrees, suits can't handle it. Too dangerous. They're leaving people up there. I look at the thermal image again. All those white squares. All those bright windows. Each one was an apartment. Each apartment had people. Some of them are still alive up there, waiting for rescue that isn't coming because it's too hot for the rescue teams in their thermal suits. The buildings are glowing white because they're full of heat. They're full of heat because they're full of people. Bodies generate heat. 2,847 bodies generating heat, trapped in sealed buildings, no ventilation, no way for that heat to escape. The buildings are cooking their own occupants. Another text. Rescue coordinator just announced they're suspending upper floor operations until the buildings cool down. Earliest resumption, 6 o'clock. 3 hours from now. 3 hours. The people still alive up there don't have 3 hours. Core body temperature above 40 degrees for more than an hour, you're dead. It's been 3 hours already since power went out. Everyone above the 20th floor is either already dead or dying right now. All because I tried to save one man. The doctor comes out of Dad's room. Mr. Vega, I'm sorry. We did everything we could. I'm still looking at the thermal image on my phone. The building's glowing white. All those heat signatures. All those people. Mr. Vega? Did you hear me? Yes. I heard her. Dad's dead. The cardioversion didn't work. His heart couldn't handle the stress. He died at 3:47 on August 18th in a hospital bed with power and AC and every life-saving technology available, surrounded by professionals who tried to save him. He died anyway, and 73,000 people in Mercy Heights are still dying in the dark, in the heat, in sealed buildings that have become crematoriums. The final count is 2,847 dead in Mercy Heights. Not 73,000. Most people got out. Fire services evacuated the vulnerable populations first, elderly, people with medical conditions. National Guard provided transport and perimeter control. Thermal rescue teams in protective suits extracted people from the middle floors of high-rises where temperatures exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. The rest walked down the stairs, 30 floors, 40 floors, through stairwells that felt like furnaces. Some collapsed. Most made it. By 6 o'clock the evacuation was complete except for the ones who refused to leave, who didn't believe it was that dangerous, who thought the power would come back any minute. And the ones who couldn't leave, the disabled, the sick, the elderly who couldn't manage the stairs. And the ones on the upper floors where rescue teams suspended operations because the heat exceeded safe limits even for thermal protection gear. The military checkpoints created bottlenecks. People trying to evacuate on their own were turned back, told to wait for official transport. Some died waiting. The official explanation, uncontrolled evacuation would have caused more casualties. Traffic jams, heat exhaustion on the streets, trampling at cooling centers. The controlled approach saved lives. Maybe it did. Maybe more people would have died in the chaos. The math doesn't work both ways. I can't know how many people would have survived if they'd been allowed to leave immediately instead of waiting for buses that took hours to arrive. The power came back at 8:43, 6 hours and 22 minutes after I tripped that breaker. 2,847 people. That's more than died in the 2024 Texas crisis. That's more than any single grid-related event in U.S. history. The NTSB investigation is ongoing. Federal prosecutors are reviewing the case. My name appears in 73 different incident reports. The power came back at 8:43, 6 hours and 22 minutes after I tripped that breaker. 2,847 people. That's more than died in the 2024 Texas crisis. That's more than any single grid-related event in U.S. history. The NTSB investigation is ongoing. Federal prosecutors are reviewing the case. My name appears in 73 different incident reports. I don't work for the ISO anymore. They terminated my employment 8 hours after the event, revoked my grid operator license, referred my case to the Department of Energy for regulatory violation review. I'll probably face criminal charges. Walsh thinks manslaughter. My lawyer, I have a lawyer now, public defender, overworked, doesn't really understand grid operations, thinks I might avoid prison if I cooperate with the investigation. I'm cooperating. I've given 14 hours of testimony explaining exactly what I did and why. The prosecutors don't understand why I thought tripping a breaker in Westbrook would help my father. I've explained the load redistribution theory 6 times. They keep asking why I didn't just follow protocol. I don't have a good answer for that. Dad's funeral was last week. Small service. He didn't have many friends in the city. Most of his life was back east before Mom died, and he moved here to be closer to me. Closer to me. We talked maybe twice a month before this. Now I've got his ashes in a cardboard box in my apartment because I haven't decided what to do with them. I should scatter them somewhere. Mom scattered at the coast. Dad liked the mountains. I haven't driven to the mountains. Haven't driven anywhere except to the lawyer's office and the federal building for depositions. The thermal image is still on my phone. I haven't deleted it. Rodriguez sent it at 3:31, and I look at it every day. 16 buildings glowing white in the infrared. Every window a bright square. Every floor a line of heat. It doesn't look real. It looks like a rendering, like something from a disaster movie, like CGI that's slightly too clean. It's real. 2,847 people real. I know what happened inside those buildings. I've read the incident reports, the official findings, heat exhaustion, cardiac events, respiratory failure, people collapsing in stairwells, people trapped in elevators, people who stayed in their apartments because the emergency alerts told them to stay inside, to wait for help that came too late or never came at all. Every one of those white squares in the thermal image was someone dying. Someone who went to sleep in their apartment and never woke up. Someone who tried to evacuate and couldn't make it down the stairs. Someone who waited by their door for rescue teams that suspended operations before reaching the upper floors. I caused that. Not the heat. Not the grid failure. Not the automated systems. Me. I tripped a breaker trying to save my father, and the system responded by isolating Mercy Heights, and 2,847 people died, and my father died anyway, and I have to live with that. The news calls it the Mercy Heights tragedy. They're investigating the grid operator who violated emergency protocols. That's me. They interview the families of the dead. Show pictures, graduation photos, wedding photos, ordinary people who went to sleep in their apartments and didn't wake up. The reporters want to know why the system failed, why the safeguards didn't work, why nobody prevented this. Some news outlets focus on the military response. Show footage of National Guard checkpoints, thermal-suited rescue teams, perimeter cordons. Half the coverage praises the organized evacuation effort that saved 70,000 lives. Half criticizes the checkpoints that delayed evacuations and possibly contributed to deaths. Congressional hearings are scheduled to investigate the military response protocols. The system didn't fail. The safeguards worked exactly as designed. I'm the failure. I'm the human error that automation was supposed to prevent. The system didn't fail. The safeguards worked exactly as designed. I'm the failure. I'm the human error that automation was supposed to prevent. I testified about this in 2027, told the Public Utilities Commission that automated systems were safer than human judgment, showed them data from the Texas crisis, how operator panic caused cascading failures, how emotional decisions made bad situations worse, how removing human override would prevent future disasters. I was right about the data, wrong about everything else. The 2028 regulations get revised next month. The new rules allow limited human override during emergency operations. Senior operators can request supervisor authorization. Supervisors can grant access if they determine the automated system is making suboptimal decisions. Limited, authorized, controlled. If those rules had existed on August 18th, I could have called Walsh, explained the situation, requested override to restore power to the Prometheus towers. He would have said no. He said no anyway when I asked, but the option would have existed. The system would have allowed it. Maybe that would have changed something. Maybe I would have made a different choice. Maybe Dad would be alive and 2,847 people would be alive and I'd still have a job. Maybe the Prometheus towers would have kept its power and every other building in Mercy Heights would still have gone dark and Dad would have died anyway, and I'd be standing here with 2,847 deaths on my conscience plus the knowledge that I tried to save him and failed. There's no good math on this. No optimization. No algorithm that gives the right answer. I live in a different apartment now. 1 bedroom, cheaper than my old place, no view. The old apartment complex is in Sector 8, one of the sectors that went dark on August 18th. I can't live somewhere that lost power during the event. Can't live somewhere my decisions affected. The new apartment is in Sector 3, Hospital District, priority power. The power never goes out here. The AC runs constantly. The thermostat's set to 20 degrees, colder than anyone needs, but I can't turn it up. Can't tolerate warmth. Can't feel hot air without thinking about sealed buildings and heat death and thermal images. The lawyer says the prosecution might offer a plea deal. Negligent homicide instead of manslaughter. Reduced sentence. I'd probably get 3 to 5 years. The alternative is going to trial, facing 2,847 counts, risking life in prison. I haven't decided yet. Rodriguez calls sometimes. She kept her job, she followed protocol, didn't touch anything after Walsh suspended my access. She runs night shift now, senior operator, probably up for promotion to supervisor soon. She's good at it, better than I was. She understands that the system is smarter than we are, that following the rules prevents disasters. She doesn't blame me. She says that in her calls. Says I was trying to save my father. Says anyone would have done the same thing. Says the system should have compensated better for the artificial load imbalance. She's wrong about all of that, but I don't correct her. Last week she told me the grid's more stable now. The heat broke. Temperature's back to normal for late August. Demand curves are predictable again. No transformers failing. No emergency load protection mode. Everything running smoothly. She didn't ask how I'm doing. I didn't tell her. The NTSB preliminary report identifies contributing factors: inadequate backup power capacity in high-rise buildings, insufficient emergency evacuation procedures, lack of real-time building monitoring systems, delayed emergency response, complications from military perimeter control, creating evacuation bottlenecks. 16 recommendations for improving building codes and grid management protocols. 1 recommendation about operator training and psychological evaluation. 3 recommendations about coordination between civilian emergency services and military disaster response. 1 section specifically addresses the emergency alert failures, the automated messages that told people to stay indoors, the 6-hour restoration estimate that proved wildly optimistic, the 90-minute delay in issuing evacuation orders. Another section analyzes the military checkpoint protocols, noting that while organized evacuation prevented mass panic casualties, the perimeter control may have delayed self-evacuation that could have saved lives in the critical first hour. The report recommends enhanced coordination between grid operations and emergency management, real-time thermal monitoring of buildings during outages, pre-programmed evacuation triggers based on interior temperature projections, and revised protocols for military deployment during infrastructure emergencies. The recommendations are good. The recommendations would have saved lives on August 18th. The recommendations don't change what happened. Nothing in the report about removing automated emergency systems. Nothing about giving humans more control. The opposite, the recommendations emphasize better automation, smarter algorithms, more sophisticated monitoring, improved military-civilian coordination. The conclusion is clear. Human error caused this disaster. The solution is less human involvement, not more. They're right. I keep the thermal image on my phone. Look at it every night before trying to sleep. 16 buildings glowing white. Every window bright. All those heat signatures that used to be people. I'm trying to remember how many windows per floor. Trying to count them in the image. Trying to figure out which building is the Prometheus Towers, which floor is the 22nd floor, which window might have been Dad's apartment. The resolution isn't good enough. All the buildings look the same in thermal imaging. All the floors identical. All the windows equally bright. He died in the hospital at 3:47. I was standing in the hallway outside his room. He never regained consciousness after the cardioversion attempts. The doctor said he didn't feel pain, that the sedation kept him comfortable, that his heart simply couldn't sustain the rhythm. The other 2,846 people died in their apartments, in stairwells, in elevators, in lobbies. The coroner's reports list causes: hyperthermia, cardiac arrest, respiratory failure. Heat death has multiple pathways. The body tries to cool itself, fails, shuts down. Most people lose consciousness before they die. That's something. Most of them didn't know. Didn't feel the end coming. That's what I tell myself. The cardboard box with Dad's ashes sits on the kitchen counter. I should do something with it. Scatter them. Bury them. Something. I put it there 3 weeks ago and haven't moved it. Sometimes I talk to it. Tell Dad about the investigation, the lawyer, the news coverage. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I tried. Tell him the math didn't work. He doesn't answer. The box just sits there, cardboard and ashes, and the knowledge that I killed 2,846 other people trying to save him, and he died anyway. He tried to get out, made it down 10 floors before his heart gave out. The hospital told me he had severe heat exhaustion, cardiac arrhythmia, dehydration. They didn't tell me he died knowing I'd failed him. Died knowing the power wasn't coming back. Died knowing his son worked for the grid and couldn't save him. Maybe that's worse than what the other 2,846 people experienced. At least they didn't know their deaths were preventable. Dad knew. Knew I was at the operations center. Knew I could see what was happening. I did do something. I made it worse. The grid's stable now. Rodriguez told me that. Demand curves are normal. No heat emergency. No transformer failures. No load shedding. The system's working exactly as designed. Protecting infrastructure. Maintaining reliability. Keeping the power on for everyone except the 2,847 people who aren't alive to need it. I testified about this. Told the commission that automation was the answer. That human judgment caused disasters. That removing human override would save lives. The system survived. The people didn't. My father didn't. I have another deposition tomorrow. Federal prosecutors, more questions about why I violated protocol. They want to understand my thinking. Want to know what I thought would happen when I tripped that breaker. Want me to explain the logic, the reasoning, the calculation that made me think I could outsmart an automated system designed by engineers smarter than me. I don't have an explanation that makes sense. I saw my father dying, and I tried to save him. That's all. That's the whole story. No complex reasoning. No sophisticated analysis. Just a son trying to save his father and breaking everything in the process. The thermal image is still on my phone. I'm looking at it now. For 17, can't sleep, standing in my apartment with the AC running full blast, looking at 16 buildings that glow white in infrared. Somewhere in that image is the Prometheus Towers. Somewhere in that building is the 22nd floor. Somewhere on that floor is a window that used to be Dad's apartment. The image doesn't show which one. They all look the same, all equally bright, all equally full of heat, all equally my fault.